Thank you. I want to say to both our guests here that I'm struck by your statements that oddly there's something I very much agree within them, and that is that as an island nation we do need an aviation industry and we do need a national airline. AIG may well let Aer Lingus go bust, but isn't that a reminder to us all that the privatisation of that airline was not just a mistake in the first place, but a catastrophic mistake for workers, the state and for the economy at large? I am in favour of helping workers in both airlines, but I think we should remind ourselves that the model in the aviation industry is unsustainable in the long term from the point of view of climate and the environment. We do need connectivity and a functioning airline industry. Your submissions give us lots of figures, but what you've left out is the figures for profitability in the year pre-COVID, which I believe amounts to several hundreds of millions for Aer Lingus and almost $1 billion for Ryanair last year alone. So you both make the case for state aid in one form or another. The state is paying a large part of your wages under the wage subsidy scheme. But your workers do have a good case for aid. You have both behaved appallingly towards your workers. You've undermined them, you've tried to impose layoffs, wage changing contracts, and specifically I want to ask Ryanair to explain themselves while they come here with their handout for the subsidy scheme and more support, why they are personally 11 pilots in the High Court for costs of up to £13.5 million, arising from their right to ballot their members for industrial action. 10 of those are Irish-based pilots, and their ability to carry out their work as representatives is restricted, and to me that looks like intimidation. You have disproportionately sacked pilot representatives across Europe, and the best description we have of your negotiations with unions since your so-called recognition of them is torturous. You've used self-employed pilots as an industrial weapon against direct employees, scheduling full-time rosters to the self-employed and leaving direct employees without any flight work. So in your effort to divide and conquer the workers and take these 11 pilots through the High Court for personal retribution over their rights to ballot their members, I believe you have no right to come here with your hand out to the state looking for more money. But in doing so, if you were to back off the war on workers, we might be able to support, in both Aer Lingus and Ryanair's case, if you back off from the war on workers, there might be some way of bargaining support for your demands for more state aid. I'd like Ryanair to please address the question of why they are pursuing these pilots in this manner.
I don't agree with how you have put that across, Deputy. What I would say is that the court case that is ongoing, I'm not going to comment in detail, but needless to say, it is about how the ballot was actually conducted, and I think any worker would want ballots to be held in a proper way, and that's the subject of those proceedings. But what I would say to you is you seem to be out of touch with what's actually happening with our relationships with unions. It may have escaped your notice that we have had an engagement with the Force Union here in Ireland, where our pilots and our cabin crew have recognised the seriousness of the situation and have taken up to 20% pay cuts. And they're going to be fully restored over 4 years. It's actually in the programme, because people recognise that here's a great way to preserve jobs until this industry recovers, and we've done that throughout Europe.
Oh, if they're willing to,
can I answer the question, please?
Save the airline.
With the VC union, and actually you'll know the comments of the Unite union in the UK, who actually called us out as she said that if other airlines had followed Ryanair's process of job preservation, well then they would prefer to be dealing with companies like that. So I think a lot of your comments are unfounded, quite frankly. I mean, it's a serious situation for job preservation, and our people are working with us to make the right decisions.
Well, I have described a method of intimidation that is being used against pilots, and the High Court is a very, very serious personal tracking
The High Court is very serious, yeah.
involved. So I don't see how you could describe your relationship as healthy or respectable or indeed cooperative. It is one of intimidation. And if you're getting cooperation, it's because you're putting the boot in. Now,
No, I would say that it's because it's how you carry out a ballot, and that's and I think all workers would want to know that ballots are carried out in a transparent fashion, and that's exactly what the proceedings are about. So.
Well, I don't believe that either you or Aer Lingus are being fair to your workforce. They're being intimidated and consistently threatened with pay cuts, with layoffs and with change contracts. And that's what is at heart here. So you've no right to come with your hand out to the state.
We haven't got our hand out here, and they have agreed to them through their representatives. You're misinformed.